Hi, I welcome you back to my channel at Code with Marach. Just like you said in the previous video, we are going to be starting off fully with our Dart course because before we can be able to write Flutter, we need to learn to write Dart. Let's talk about editors, right? Let's talk about IDEs. An IDE is an integrated development environment. Apart from VS Code, you have Android Studio, you have IntelliJ. Uh, there are a whole bunch of them out there. So an IDE is basically where you write your code, compile it, run it, test it, debug it, stuff like that. So you can see I am running this code I have here. I am running it and I am simulating the output on my real device. In this our that course, we could have used VS Code, right? But then there is a better and lightweight option for us. We are going to come back to VS Code when we start writing Flutter codes, right? So, but for now, we are doing only that. So we are going to be using an online IDE called Dartpad. Initially, I think Dartpad was supporting only that, but currently it looks like they have added Flutter. So we can run some Flutter code inside Dartpad. But for the purpose of this course, we are going to be using Dartpad only for that. Every single time we want to do Flutter, when we get into the Flutter part, which is the part 2, we can come back to VS Code. So I'm just going to open my browser, open a new tab, and then I'll just type Dartpad. Hit enter, allow it to do its thing. So let's just select this first one. So welcome to Dartpad. This is an online editor that we are going to be using to learn Dart. Let us just get a quick walkthrough through our environment, maybe get conversant with the stuff there. Like I can see some buttons and all of that. So if I click on this guy, it says new. So this is like if you need a Dart snippet or a Flutter snippet. For instance, this is a Dart snippet, right? This guy already exists in here. So if I click on Flutter snippet, it gives me a Flutter snippet, right? For now, we don't really need this. So if I click on samples, if I click on Fibonacci, it gives me the code for Fibonacci. I can click on sunflower. It gives me a Flutter code for sunflower. For now, we do not need. This one says show docs. I want to take my time now to talk about documentation. You invented something. We are not there when you invented it, right? You probably did it alone. We don't have an idea of how your stuff works, but then we are also going to use it alongside it. So docs or documentation is a place where you document, this is how my invention works and this is how you are going to use it. More like a manual. Yeah, you remember you buy stuff in the market, they put a manual for you. When you open the manual, you see how to install it, how to use it, blah blah blah. So that's what doc mean. I implore you as a beginner, you have to be visiting the Dart documentation every time. So if I hover on this, it shows format. I'm just going to go back to this Dart snippet currently, and then I'm going to push this code like this. As you can see, this is not really nicely formatted. So once we click on this, we're just going to format it for us. So in case we write a code that doesn't really look fine, we can just click on format and then that part formats it for us. So this is the run button. Anytime we click on run, it takes every single thing that we have here, it compiles it, it executes it, and then it gives us the output here. For instance, let me just click on run. So it compiles it and then gives us this output here. So we write our code on the editor side and then we get the output on the console side. If I hover on this button, it says clear console. So anytime I click on this, it's just going to clear everything we have here. And then if I hover on this guy too, opening IDX, well, I don't want to bore you with what IDX means. It doesn't really concern you for now as a beginner. I'm addicted to dark mode. If you like light mode, you can click on this to toggle brightness and you see it changes to light mode. I'm going to bring it back to dark mode. So and if I click on this, it says install SDK sharing guide. Then as a beginner, every single time you see this sign, it shows that it is taking you to an external site. We don't really want to leave and go to external site. You can actually try it out on your own. We don't really want to install any SDK and we don't want to share any guide. So I'm just going to close this guide down. We have a privacy notice and a feedback. Both of them are going to take us to external sites and we're not interested. This guy says keyboard shortcut. You can just explore these things at your convenience. As you can see on our bottom right, we have the latest version of Dart and Flutter, which is Dart 3.61 and Flutter 3.27.3. So let us look at what we have on our editor. The first thing we are going to be learning in that part is comments. Comments are available in all programming languages, I think. Every single time the compiler comes here, it starts with the first line of code. After it is done with the first line, goes to the second line, third line. Because of this for loop, it is going to execute this third line 10 times because of this particular condition here. Apart from loops, every other thing goes line by line. When we write lines of code in programming, there are some lines we would want our compiler to ignore, right? This is the basis of comments. We might want our compiler to ignore it because of so many reasons. Sometimes we just want to add a text there to be able to use it to clarify the lines of code that will come subsequent, right? Sometimes during debugging, we might want to just temporarily disable a particular line of code. We don't want to remove it entirely. We just want to temporarily disable it and test out something. Then later we enable it. So every single time we put in a comment, our compiler, when it comes to that particular line, it will ignore it. There are three ways to comment. One is single line comment. The second one is multiple line comment. The third one is documentation. To be able to put in a single line comment, all you just need to do is come to that line. I'll just put my cursor here, yeah, and then I'll put two forward slashes, one, two. It changes color. So if I run this code now, this guy is not going to be printed. It's just going to give me an empty console. So this is a single line comment. What if we want to comment more than one line? We use what? A multi-line comment. For instance, I write something like this. My name is Emmanuel. You can see that that part is shouting at me and saying, hey, I don't understand what you are saying. But then I really want to have this line here in this code, probably because I want to use it and explain something. I can make it more specific by saying this is an example of a for loop. My that part is still shouting and say, I don't understand what you are saying on line 2. What do you mean? So this is supposed to be a comment, right? I'm just going to put two forward slashes and then it gets it commented. So this is a single line commenting. However, what if I want this guy inside here, in between this semicolon and then this I? Something like my name is Emmanuel. You can see that from here it understands this guy up to this point. Then he sees this guy. He doesn't know what you are saying and stuff like that. So it is shouting, hey, what are you saying? What do you mean? How do we make it know that, oh, this is something you're supposed to ignore? This is not something you're supposed to compile or exit. For some reasons best known to us, we just want to have it here. I mean, instead of saying my name is Emmanuel, this could be another description of maybe any other line of code written here. What we want to have it here? So something we could just do is what? Another way of commenting. First of all, put a forward slash, put an asterisk. Whenever you put a forward slash and an asterisk, it comments from that point till wherever the code stops. We now come to the whenever we want the commenting to stop. And then we reverse this guy by saying now asterisk and then a forward slash. So if we run this code now, you can see that even with our inline comment, our for loop is still getting compiled and the output still getting printed on the console. Assuming I want to comment every single thing about this for loop, I can just come to the beginning of this place, put my forward slash, my asterisk. Every single time I put my forward slash and my asterisk, just like we've talked before, it deactivates every single thing from that point till the end of the code. Then we can now go to where we want it to stop and then reverse our arrangement. And then first of all, we'll now say asterisk first, then our forward slash. Every single thing about this for loop from this line 3, line 5 has been deactivated. So we now have line 2, line 3, line 4, line 5 deactivated. And we basically just have this thing. It's as good as deleting everything here. But then let's leave it the way it was. Whenever you use double slashes for comment, it's called comments. Whenever you have three of these slashes, is a convention. If I want to write a documentation inside the code, I'm always going to use three forward slashes, right? But if I want to write a comment, I'm going to use two. So that's all about our chapter 1. I know that you've learned how to comment, and that's one of the basic things you will need. So in the next video, we are going to be going into variables and probably discuss about data types too. A little peek into where we are going to be discussing. Variables are just something you use to store data, right? You just use it to store a particular type of data, and that's it. We are going to go into detail into it in the next video. So thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe, like, hit the bell icon so that you'll be notified whenever I drop subsequent videos. Thank you so much. See you in the next chapter. Bye.